Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar. We're talking about personalized email recommendations, new feature that Searchspring has recently launched. And we're excited to have you here listening to this particular webinar. My name is Jason Ferrara. I am the CMO at Searchspring. I'll be the moderator for today's webinar in our conversation about personalized email recommendations. You know, the thing at Searchspring that we really focus on is how to help merchants drive the ultimate shopper experience. You know, we do that because we recognize, just like you do, that shoppers hate it when they go to a site and they can't find what they want. You know, they leave, they don't come back. And that's a problem for conversion, for sales, for the ROI on your spend. And that's where Searchspring comes in. Through site search and merchandising and personalization and insights and data to understand shopper behavior, that's how we work with you to help you drive the ultimate shopper experience. So today we're talking about a part of that experience, which is personalized email recommendations. We've got two great panelists today, and I will invite them to turn their video on so we can see who they are. We can get some introductions, and we can go through our little Q&A in our session today. So first, I'd like you guys to introduce yourselves. You'll do a way better job than I will. So Salma, why don't we start with you? Go ahead and introduce yourself, and then Carlos jump on in right after Salma.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jason. I am Salma Mashpour. I work at Searchspring as a senior product manager, and I work on all things personalization, and that's what I hope to bring to the table today.
Great, thanks. Carlos, how about you?
Thanks, Jason. Hey, everyone. My name is Carlos Barrero. I'm a strategic partner manager working with third-party tech companies like Searchspring that integrate with Klaviyo. I wear several hats, but ultimately I'm focused on helping our partners grow with Klaviyo and build integrations that deliver real value for mutual customers.
Great. Thanks so much. All right. So all three of us, but the both of you have a real passion for personalization, for communication to shoppers and custom merchants, customers. So that's one of the reasons, you know, why we have this product, this email recommendations product. Salma, why don't you start? Just describe the Searchspring personalized email recommendations product. You know, what is it? And just generally, what does it do?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what email recommendations allow us to do is really take control of the entire shopper's experience. So starting from your site and all the way over into the shopper's cart, we are able to get the right product in front of the right shopper every step of the way to basically create that personalized experience and increase the rate of conversion. So for shoppers, they're just actually seeing products that they would likely purchase brought to the forefront of their email inbox. And what we've noticed is that personalization is a booming place. It's kind of becoming the forefront of e-commerce in general. So of course, like merchants, like the number one thing that they're asking to add to their tech stack as well is personalization.
Yeah, we see that all the time when we're talking to our clients who don't use personalization, or our prospects, you know, when we survey our market and the industry, constantly talking about personalization. So I think that's really important. And so while we're talking about that, because Salma, you talked about this like site to cart, you know, experience. Carlos, jump in and help us understand a little bit about email and email marketing and email communications in general. I mean, obviously, I think everybody who's listening today knows what email is and gets a ton of it, but what does it mean? You know, why is it so important? Why should this matter to people?
Absolutely. At a high level, email offers superior ROI than other channels marketers are used to. There's a study out there by Litmus, a QA tool, sort of the gold standard out there for email QA. You make about $36 for every dollar you invest in email marketing. And from some of our own internal data at Klaviyo, we find on average about 20 to 30% of revenue generated from your e-commerce store can be attributed to your email activities. And zooming out, right, you can really think about email as sort of an own channel, right? You control the message and you don't have to depend on the classic digital marketing duopoly of, you know, Google or Facebook to reach your audience, where they own those rails. So in a way, email is very, you know, meritocratic, right? There's great senders that are rewarded greatly, and email can be really effective down there at the middle to the bottom of the funnel, helping with conversion, with retention, with building long-term relationships that not many other marketing channels are well equipped to serve.
Yeah, great. Yeah, high ROI is high ROI and low cost of ownership, right? That's sort of probably what every merchant wants to hear in terms of ways to communicate with their shoppers. So let's start talking a little bit about personalized email recommendations and the Searchspring Klaviyo integration. So Salma, can you just give us a high level, like if I'm using this feature with Searchspring and Klaviyo, how does it work? How does that work?
Yeah, for sure. So whether a customer is browsing through your store, making a purchase, or simply adding items to your cart or to their cart, Klaviyo and Searchspring are both following along. So Klaviyo can follow up on these actions with an email follow-up, whereas Searchspring is really evaluating this customer to understand what their preferences and likes are. And those are the two things that we're trying to marry together. So I can give you an example. For instance, if you have a customer who's adding a bunch of stuff to their cart and then gets distracted and steps away, Klaviyo can follow up with an email to say, hey, you forgot this item in your cart. Do you want to come back and check it out? Now we're going to inject that further and enrich that experience by adding personalization into it. So we can also have that email include certain recommendations, like you might be interested in these products as well. And those recommended products have been specifically curated for this customer based on their behavior and their preferences. So not only are you pulling customers back to complete their purchase, you're also providing recommendations of additional items to add to their cart that they can purchase as well.
Got it. So I'm already communicating with these shoppers. I might as well add personalization in there. I might as well add things that they're interested in. They have some sort of hunger for in one way or another, right? That's what we're doing. So a couple of follow-up questions to that I just think are important. The ability to send email is just not the domain of Klaviyo, right? I mean, theoretically, I can send email if I'm using my e-commerce platform. So what is it, about Klaviyo that makes that process, the email sending, more effective, drives up the ROI, that sort of thing? Let's talk about that first, and then what it's like to add Rex to it.
Yeah, sure thing. I can lend some insight here. Klaviyo offers, I think, native integrations to major e-commerce platforms like Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, et cetera, and a robust directory of third parties like Searchspring that can transact that data to Klaviyo. So I really think the data is the advantage, as opposed to you just sending out mass emails to a sort of faceless list of customers that you've accumulated over time. So if you think of Klaviyo as a stack, right, we start with a foundation of owning that data, right, connecting those various sources that offer insight across the entire customer journey. In the middle, there's a few tools built in to experiment and learn about your customers by gathering insights from that data. And then finally, there's that orchestration and automation layer at the top to deliver that personalized content at scale. Most marketing automation tools in the space today may focus on one or two layers of that stack I just described. And that introduces a lot of complexity for marketers, which can be really difficult to navigate. But Klaviyo does a really good job of simplifying that stack while balancing both sophistication with accessibility and ease of use. So worth considering when you're out there looking for a tool to help scale things up quickly. We are the recommended email partner solution for Shopify Plus.
Great. Yeah, it is amazing to me how these conversations, they always come back to the data and whether you have it or the quality of that data. I mean, both those things are so incredibly important. And, in my day job as a marketer at Searchspring, I think about that all the time. I'm constantly working on that data. Where are we getting it from? What's the quality of it? All that sort of thing. So yeah, the ability to not only communicate, but do it in an intelligent way, I think is really important and makes sense of that. So then we turn to recommendations. I mean, I think that, again, that's something that if I look at the platform that my site's running on, I probably have the ability to recommend something already. So what is, maybe Salma or Carlos, feel free to jump in on this. What are we doing that's different here than what I might think of as recommendations that I may get from some other platform?
Yeah, I can take this one. So absolutely, there are other platforms that provide recommendations, but what sets us apart is we really try to characterize our customers and get to know the full scope of who they are before you recommend a product. Whereas other alternatives will typically recommend a product based on an isolated event. So as an example, if it was a more isolated event, you can have a customer looking at sweaters and they purchase a sweater. Now, that might be considered as a preference for sweaters, and that product continues to get recommended back to them. But that's not how we operate at Searchspring. Our recommendation is much more robust, and we will take into consideration what that customer has done in the past and who they are overall in terms of their preferences. So for instance, if we had a male shopper and he's always buying male clothing, and one day he purchases a female sweater, our recommendations engine can potentially take a moment to consider what they've done in the past and say, okay, this is a one-off. Maybe it was a gift item, so we don't need to encompass it in our recommendations engine moving forward.
Got it. Yeah, that's really interesting. It makes me think of a conversation I had with a client. They had just started using Searchspring, and one of the things they were thinking through was how do we change our business rules from in terms of recommendations, right? We've got years worth of smart people who are all our merchandising team. They've got lots of business rules that they put together. How can we make their business rules better, or how can we do something that isn't, or something that's smarter than their business rules? And that's really what they were looking for. And so I think putting those two things together is incredibly important. Carlos, anything you want to add in terms of adding recommendations to that email process? I just think as we sort of draw to a close here, I'd be interested to hear some final thoughts there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think ultimately, using a tool like Searchspring and Klaviyo together, you're combining two solutions that have great specialization in their core competencies. One being on-site search, merchandising, and the on-site experience with the perhaps further down the funnel experience of those owned marketing channels like SMS and email. So there, you're really just mirroring the experience between the two. As a marketer, you are, expressing consistency across those channels and supporting your chances of really monetizing that audience that you have through email. Because again, not everybody can abuse email at once. There's this concept of deliverability, right? You want to be a good sender, and great senders are rewarded greatly. So using relevant content like Searchspring email personalization can really support that.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. One of the things we always talk about, seem to get to in these webinars also, is the idea that you still have to be a human being, right? This isn't just a mechanized throwing the information out there. This is two humans having a conversation with each other, right? And we do that when we go into a retail store. So why aren't we doing that on our e-commerce sites? I think is really important. Yeah. So some takeaways, and Salma, you really pulled out the customer journey, that idea that I'm seeing something on the site, I'm taking that all the way to the end of my experience. And I can email in different parts of that life cycle, which is really great. I think that lends itself to product discovery and higher conversion rates. I mean, conversion rates and ROI, Carlos, you really hit on that. I appreciate that too. The idea that this is an owned channel, high ROI, low cost of ownership is really a great thing. So I appreciate that. And then also this idea that I'm putting together a stack of products that's really going to drive the right data for me, and the right data for me as a merchant means the right recommendations, the right opportunity for the shopper. So super excited about this integration, really excited about personalized email recommendations. Salma, thanks so much for the description and the conversation. Carlos, great to see you again, and looking forward to working together as we build our customer bases and help people drive that type of recommendation through. Be really exciting.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Salma.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.